Let's start today with the story that everyone is still talking about, and then I promise we will transition to other topics as well. But if I were an advisor to Trump, I would be begging him, please, sir, stop going in public for a little while. Just take a little sabbatical. Please stop. Please stop doing interviews, pressers, anything. Because every time he speaks on the Epstein issue, it reignites more speculation and controversy, and leading to viral clips, this one coming from TikTok, that just, even setting aside my own bias against Trump, just does not come off well at all whatsoever. I'll show you the edited version, then I'll show you the context to be as honest as we can to this, and explain if I'm going way overboard to be good faith what maybe Trump was saying here. But this is being framed as Trump just admitting he's in the files and that's why he hates them.
They were run by Chris Wray and they were run by Comey, and because it was actually even before that administration, right? They've been running these files, and so much of the things that we found were fake with me. And so much of the things that we found were fake with me.
Hey, Donald. You're like the best president ever. But I think maybe, you remember when Joe Biden was in his basement? I think we need to put you in a basement because this is getting worse every time you speak. So you saw they played 3 times the ending part where he goes, so much of what we found, right after he's talking about the Epstein files, in them about me were fake, which is a crazy thing to say. Because you're banking on all of the listeners going, no, I believe him. There's stuff that might seem incriminating. And by the way, it could but it could be extensive details that maybe prosecutors never found relevant, but came up in the investigatory process, even if it's not the bombshell that some people imagine could be there. I think it's somewhat difficult. Some of the speculation people bring forward because of the fact that Democrats did have control for years before, but even so, it could be these wild details about just how many bonkers affairs he was having, things that wouldn't be relevant for prosecutors to bring forward if it didn't engage a criminal activity, but still embarrassing or whatever. Also, just a reminder to people that someone that others, even before Epstein was prosecuted, said it was clear this was a bad guy. We didn't know the extent of it, but that's why I distanced myself, right? You've heard that story from others. So even just a constant reminder of that relationship being as it was, and I'll give you more stories on that front here in a second, and an update on Trump's lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal for their emphasis of that story. That could be part of Trump's rage here, but every time he tries to settle it, it becomes very much unsettled. So to be as honest as we can, here's the full clip. It sounds like he was going, with you, Russia. You remember, guys, MAGA, we loved Russia. This Steele dossier, I did do golden showers.
And there's the Russia collusion against you. There is Jack Smith against you. There's all the things that happened in 2020 not investigating.
Why are you all assuming it's against him? That's so weird. That's so incriminating for you to all assume that we must be talking about this because something is there with him. You're just assuming that premise, which looks so bad. Okay, this part's less relevant. I'll jump forward to the clip that got clipped.
Stick to it like glue. The Democrats, they have bad policy, they have bad candidates, they have bad everything, but they stick together. The Republicans don't do that, but they ought to look into the Jeffrey Epstein hoax too, because that's another hoax that's frankly put out by the pushing the Republicans and put out by the Democrats.
No, they definitely set the Republicans up. One big prosecutor look at it all. Would that make you feel good, you think?
Well, I think it's in the case of Epstein, they've already looked at it, and they are looking at it, and I think all they have to do is put out anything credible.
They should look at it? Oh, so they should look at it? No, but they already looked at it. Then why'd you say they should look at it? As we continue through this, please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate the show. Go to drinkpep.com to get yourself an energy drink. You don't have to feel guilty about drinking, crafted by by myself and my two brothers to solve our problem of drinking energy drinks, but knowing that they were poisoning us, instead uplift your gut microbiome. Drinkpep.com, linked in the description below. Here's the part.
But, that was run by the Biden administration for 4 years. I can imagine what they put into files, just like they did with the others. I mean, the Steele dossier was a total fake.
Right.
They took 2 years to figure that out for the people. And all of the things that you mentioned were fake. Yeah. So I would imagine if they were run by Chris Wray and they were run by Comey, and because it was actually even before that administration, they've been running these files. And so much of the things that we found were fake with me, but especially you look at that Steele dossier where they paid like 14 or 16 million. That's more than James Patterson gets paid.
So I don't know why I should be assisting in adding context to what maybe he would say he was saying, but he would say he was saying lots of the stuff we found with me was fake, meaning the other hoaxes. But it sure dang sounds like he's saying, yeah, like, if something were to come out per se about someone who has a really nice hairstyle, then just know it's probably fake. It's probably fake. That does sound exactly like what he's saying. And this is coming as mainstream outlets are bringing on more and more guests to remind the public about just the nature of this relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and Trump. Obviously, something we've talked about for a long time. And by itself, you can't do guilt by association, I understand. But the full extent of the details should, by at the very least, be concerning to MAGA, which I guess it is now, but it wasn't for a long time. Media reports that was his bro, former Epstein girlfriend, says Trump and Epstein were very close and up to no good. And this is someone who was a girlfriend, so I just want to specify, not one of the underage victims, but did accuse Trump. Stacey Williams accused Trump of groping her in front of Epstein, and Epstein kind of seeing as a sick game and grinning. In October, Williams accused Trump of groping her at Trump Tower in 1993 as part of what she described as part of a twisted game, during which Epstein smiled as Trump touched her against her will. A spokesperson for Trump denied the allegations. Here she is.
Stacey,
Oh, and there's a little glitchity glitch. Let me see if I can refresh that.
Stacey, thank you so much for joining us tonight. As you know, Epstein is dominating the news once again, and his relationship with Trump is under scrutiny. While you were dating Epstein, can you tell us how close these two men were?
They were best friends. I dated Jeffrey for a period of more or less, I think about 4 or 5 months. And the only friend that he would mention every time we saw each other or had a phone conversation was Donald, and he would share a lot of anecdotes. I have plenty of anecdotes. And yeah, they were very close, and they were up to no good.
And
up to no good. You can take that down. Yeah, so a lot of this is rehashing what we've known, but I think given the resurgence of interest in this topic, it's fair to be reminded of it. Republicans Against Trump posting investigative reporter Julie K. Brown tells CNN that Jeffrey Epstein told his brother, and we've looked at this audio before as well, that if the public knew everything he knew about Trump, they would have to cancel the election. It was kind of a general, if the public knew what I knew about the candidates, I think is how it was worded, then they'd have to cancel the election.
Well, let me just set the record straight. I know what he said that Epstein told him when he was in prison, but Epstein told his own brother, and his brother has been public about this, that he told him that if the public knew everything that he knew about Trump, they would have to cancel the election. And that's his brother's words, not mine. So there is something there. I'm not saying it means that the president did anything illegal or he was involved with Epstein's operation at all. But, the story that he told his brother is different from the story that he told that lawyer, number one. The other point I wanted to make is, he also said there's no list. I agree that there probably isn't a list, but my understanding is that Epstein kept files, and he did keep files on people. I don't know whether the Justice Department got their hands on those files, but Epstein had some kind of records. It might not have been, and I don't believe it was, in a formal list that everybody wants to refer to. So I just think that Epstein told different people different things, and it's hard to know really, what's true and what's not true.
So then there's that. And while the Wall Street Journal broke this story, Trump was threatening them about the letter where Trump's saying all this lovey-dovey sexual stuff to Epstein. And we have, every day should be a wonderful secret. And here's a sketch of a woman. And Trump announced that he's actually moving forward with that, which is insane. Breaking news, Trump wrote on Treason Social. We have just filed a powerhouse lawsuit against everyone involved in publishing the fake, malicious, defamatory, fake news article in the useless rag that is the Wall Street Journal. This historic legal action is being brought against the so-called authors of this defamation, the now fully disgraced Wall Street Journal, a conservative outlet, as well as its corporate owners and affiliates with Rupert Murdoch and Robert Thompson, whatever his role is, at the top of the list. And he goes through the other attacks he's levied against media outlets as if to demonstrate the point that I've been making, which is this is a part of a broader pattern. He's trying to strike fear into the hearts of people who do any reporting that he doesn't like. Now, it's to me a really difficult case to make. You can take that down, Cole, but that Rupert Murdoch, the Fox News guy, Fox Corporation guy, the fuel that allowed Trump's political fire to burn, that Rupert Murdoch is now a part of the liberal deep state. I'm getting a little bit sick of Trump imposing onto us, the libbies, the wokesters, all of these people. Even now, Rupert is supposed to be one of our conspiracy? Keep Rupert for yourself. That guy has done everything against our principles. How this would be a part of a conspiracy to help the liberals doesn't make any sense, or to hurt Trump. Now, if you forgot what the nature of this reporting was like, something was really, honestly, funny about hearing Wolf Blitzer explain this story in his typical Wolf Blitzer tone of voice.
And his allies are lashing out at the Wall Street Journal. It is reporting that Epstein's friends and family associates sent body letters for a birthday album in 2003. And according to the Journal, one of those racy letters was from Donald Trump.
And it is so graphic. The article in the Wall Street Journal describes the letter this way, and I'm quoting now. It contains several lines of typewritten text framed by the outline of a naked woman, which appears to be hand-drawn with a heavy marker. A pair of small arcs denotes the woman's breasts, and the future president's signature is a squiggly Donald below her waist, mimicking pubic hair. The letter concludes, "Happy birthday, and may every day..."
There's some stories that just, they're not made for mainstream reporters to deliver. We now have breaking news here at CNN. Squiggly lines denoted a hypothetical woman's, quote, I'm quoting now, boobies, unquote. Then Trump used his signature as if to say, I am the pubic hair. Wow, this is racy stuff. Back to you, Pamela. Something's just disconnected about that. Now, Trump is actually setting himself up for a big humiliation here. Not only because this case is ridiculous. And can we just circle back for a second to, they want us to believe that if the letter, which is just demonstrating, it's not like a new bombshell, it's just demonstrating how strange and close, all the way up to at least 2003 when the letter was sent. 2006 is when Jeffrey was first prosecuted. 2003, Trump was to Epstein. We've known that. So it's just re-emphasizing that with admittedly sort of salacious details and talking about a wonderful secret, and we don't want to know what Epstein's secrets are. And so that's all the reporting is, but Trump's acting like it's the defamation of all defamation. But that's substantiating something that's public. You've said he's a terrific guy and you were great pals. So this is just giving an anecdote to support that. But they're saying either it's not a big deal, who cares, nobody even, that's not news, was a lot of the MAGA reaction. They kind of flipped to start supporting Trump again. It was weird. And also, they're losing their mind and thinking that Wall Street Journal should be burnt to the ground. If it's not a big deal, why are you saying it's the greatest defamation ever? And if this case goes forward, and please, I don't believe in Rupert Murdoch's ability to stand on principle. Come on, unless the principle of helping himself. But if they cave like CBS caved, like ABC caved, I'm going to lose my mind, because please take this case forward and then you'll have tools in your toolbox to expose Trump. This was explained on CNN.
What would discovery look like? I mean, I imagine if the Wall Street Journal and News Corp and Rupert Murdoch are going to mount any sort of defense, they're going to want to know everything they can find out about President Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. They're going to seek possession or introduction as evidence, whatever this birthday book is. I mean, might this not end up just drudging up a lot of stuff Trump doesn't want to talk about anyway?
I'm not so sure Donald Trump has fully thought this one through, Jake, because you showed at the beginning of the show his very recent social media post where he said, I look forward to deposing Rupert Murdoch under oath. That should be fascinating. Well, guess who else is going to have to testify under oath at a deposition? The plaintiff in this case, the person who's suing Donald John Trump. And the subject of that testimony, which again will be under oath, will be his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. No holds barred. And by filing this lawsuit, he is walking himself right into that scenario. Discovery goes both ways. Plaintiff has to turn stuff over to the defendant and vice versa. So I have some questions about the legal strategy here.
Aside from the pattern of behavior that this is a part of, which is his vicious attacks against any outlets that do reporting that he doesn't like, otherwise, I'm rooting him on. Do it. Please do it. Not only because now you're going to be clashing with Murdoch. Maybe Fox News won't be as nice to you. I don't know. Now I'm just wishful thinking. But is because he would have to be subject to discovery, as was explained there. He'll have to have his own information examined. And I want that. And this will always take a while. So he'll probably finally be getting this story to be less of a focal point, just because that's how, no matter if we ever get an answer on anything, just news cycles eventually evaporate. And then all of a sudden it's going to be right back in the headlines because his case with Rupert Murdoch and Fox and the Wall Street Journal becomes the discussion. You then have this, the Daily Beast reporting Epstein's brother, which again, I've explained. What are we doing at Mark? I want to know Mark. I want to know what's up with Mark here. Mr. Mark. Did you know? How are you so close to him that you have all of the inside takes and you were chit-chatting like a couple of buddies or brothers and you didn't know and didn't blow the whistle on what was happening? Mark. But he's demanding Steve Bannon's secret footage of pedo. What does that mean? Well, you can take that down just for a second here. Steve Bannon, I forgot about this, but years ago, did this long-form interview with Epstein for a documentary about Epstein and that cabal or whatever. And then never released the documentary. Released this teaser, but never released the documentary.
Of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein inside a New York City jail.
We were underage. We were little girls. By the time I was 16, I brought him up to 75 girls.
He was glib, and he lived essentially like he was Gatsby. He was an absolutely terrifying person to encounter.
You own an island, right?
Thank you very much.
Two islands, the islands of Dr. Moreau?
Correct.
Jeffrey Epstein was a billionaire New York businessman whose vast wealth brought an arrogance that knew no limits. He acted as if he could have anything he craved.
Reporting the FBI is now looking into how it can interview Britain's Prince Andrew over his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
I made my living from old thinking, but the future is for the way women think.
The way women think.
That's correct.
Is that not a sop because of all the depravity you've done against young women? Your new sop is that their women's thinking is the future?
No, I've always believed that women would in fact be able to take over. I'm a firm believer and supporter of Time's Up.
What a sicko. You know, I realized now in prison that I just really am a feminist. I think the future is for women. Get out of here. What are you doing? What are you saying? Oh, he's so creepy too. It's weird how real life villains often come off like movie villains.
Prosecutors said yesterday video of Epstein's jail cell when he made his first suicide attempt no longer exists.
And Jeffrey Edward Epstein.
Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
Yes. Epstein got away with his crimes because nearly every element of society allowed him to get away with them.
This morning, we're learning new details of the exact cause of death of former registered sex offender and financier Jeffrey Epstein.
The greatest threat to people put in solitary confinement is they try to kill themselves. Imagine that. You're only in a room for 24 hours, you start to go crazy.
So it was called The Monsters, Epstein's Life Among the Global Elite. But it was never released. Very strange. Bannon was recently asked about this.
Real quick, Steve, big fan of your show. Just want to ask, in 2019, you did an interview with Jeffrey Epstein for a documentary you're making called Monsters. That interview never came out. Would you be willing to release that footage, and why hasn't the footage been released already?
We're going to release the film, the 5-part series next year, early next year. Yeah. You're going to see it. And by the way, the entire thing is how the elites in the intelligence services are.
I'm so proud to announce that The Monsters, Global Elite Epstein, is going to come out in 2 weeks, along with Trump's healthcare plan. Now, while this is happening, I told you before about the fact that some people, I'm just telling you, I'm just the messenger. Some people are saying that in an effort to distract from this, Tulsi Gabbard and the Trump administration is trying to throw fresh red meat to their base in the form of saying Obama should be tried for treasonous conspiracy and using rehashed communications in the Obama administration to perpetuate this idea that Obama and all the Democrats knew that their allegations against Trump or against Russia and Russian meddling in the 2016 election, that they knew it was all false and they charged forward with it anyways to election interfere or to presidency interfere even after Trump won. Now, you'll be shocked to find out, as we reviewed, and I'll remind you, that's not at all what Tulsi Gabbard released or what she released proves, but they're charging forward with it. And it's really sad because I follow a lot of these right-wing accounts to see what they're saying. And there were so many of them. Some were going, I'm kind of seeing this as a distraction. And even I have to admit, let's be honest, they're not going to go arrest Obama. But a lot of them were going, this is the bombshell we should all be focusing on. See, Obama should be locked up. He knew Russia actually came from Hunter Biden's laptop from hell in the bathroom while he was pooping. And that is exposing what Tulsi says that it is. So let's go through. Politico reports Gabbard threatens prosecution against Obama administration officials for treasonous conspiracy. She's saying there's treasonous conspiracy surrounding the 2016 election. In a newly declassified report, Gabbard on Friday alleged the officials manipulated and withheld key intelligence from the public related to the possibility of Russian interference in the election. It goes on, etc., etc. But if we jump here, first off, friend of the show, Josiah from Pondering Politics said, hey guys, did you know this thing that Obama never claimed happened? Never actually happened? Haha, owned libtards. Impeccable and not at all weirdly right-wing journalism. Matt Taibbi, who was saying this exposes it all. So the key to it is this that we looked at, which is December 8th, 2016, some communication, cyber manipulation of U.S. election infrastructure to remain a challenge. We assessed that Russian and criminal actors did not impact recent U.S. election results by conducting malicious cyber activities against election infrastructure. Goes through what they tried to do. Illinois voter registration database. Tried to hack other states' databases. Criminal activity also failed to reach the scale and sophistication necessary to change election outcomes. So what they were saying the whole time, what we knew the whole time, was the case. That's the bombshell, which is that Russia didn't hack voting tabulators or didn't flip the votes from Hillary to Trump using genius Putin hackery. That wasn't even what they were talking. They investigated clearly, and there were hacking attempts of voting databases, registration databases. But did they change the election outcome by flipping votes through hacks? No. Who even claimed that ever? How could you say Obama should be in jail for that? And I would just advise you, don't bring up Russia again, because then we have to go through what it is that they were doing. You even saw in that report the links they were going and they were trying and then where they were failing to help Trump. Does that mean that Trump wasn't legitimate president? No. But it does mean, weird that Putin really, really, really didn't want Hillary to win. Brian Krasstein said, urgent fact-checking Tulsi Gabbard's lies. Tulsi Gabbard is a lying piece of poo emoji. I will make sure her lies are continually called out. Obama did not request anyone create and manufacture intelligence in any way. There's no evidence of this and whatsoever. Here's a timeline of what happened. December 2016 Intel report that Gabbard claims Obama covered up is released. The report, filed with classified material from the CIA and FBI, showed that Russian actors accessed voter registration election systems across all 50 states. There wasn't evidence that they actually tampered with vote counts or machines. It also showed that Putin had a distinct preference for Trump. When Clinton looked likely to win, Russia pivoted towards undermining her. Later, Russia sought to bolster Trump's chances. Russia's interference was deemed more aggressive, broader, and bolder, signaling a new era of foreign influence operation targeting democracies. It also found that they used cyber intrusion via the GRU, who hacked democratic systems like the DNC and Podesta emails. And he goes, so what were they doing? Clearly they were trying to hack stuff, failing in some cases, and they did not change the vote counts. Okay. I never saw Obama ever even once claim that. Show me the clip if it's there. And what was of concern and reasonable to talk about was the fact that they were engaging in all these different operations, some of which you heard there, and then also the social media operations trying to undermine Hillary in that way, the hacking of the DNC, the releasing of the email. All of those things matter. And there was a bipartisan Senate investigation that exposed a lot of this. Republicans were a part of it. Both reports found that Putin directed the interference effort. Russia aimed to help Trump and hurt Clinton. Russian cyber attacks, leaks, and propaganda efforts were used. No evidence of voter tampering. But something that in no world, unless something else comes out that I've missed, in no world exposes that Obama was knowingly perpetuating falsehoods and engaging in hiding intelligence and then bringing forward some other intelligence. It just bolsters what we already knew of what did happen, what didn't happen. Now, if you want to condemn media figures who took their speculation too far, thinking that Putin was calling up Trump, being like, all right, now do this. All right, now they do this. All right, now they do this. And that there was that level of coordination, condemn them. If people who, and this happened, by the way, in the media, went too far with those sorts of claims that Trump was directly being directed by Putin, that's totally fine to be mad at them for it. And in media, people go too far a lot of times. Or allegations, weird salacious stories that came out in the Steele dossier, whatever, that didn't end up being true. The record should be corrected on that. And you can totally have negative feelings towards people who perpetuated the wrong ideas. But to act like the Obama administration was doing something criminal here, when what you're bringing forward just substantiates what we already knew, is deranged. And it does feel really desperate. She didn't rule out prosecuting Obama in this interview.
Also, in some of your reports, the word treason has come up. We're seeing a lot of things coming to light these days, and it's very encouraging for Americans, especially this report, which so many of us knew this was a hoax. But this goes all the way to the top. I mean, this goes all the way to Barack Obama. Will we actually see someone as high up as Barack Obama take responsibility, be accountable, maybe face criminal charges? Is that a possibility here based on the documents that you've released?
Rachel, the seriousness of, again, the implications and the consequences of these actions that were taken demand accountability. The American people not only deserve the truth and accountability, when we look at the future of our country as a democratic republic and the American people's ability to have faith that when they go and cast a vote at the ballot box, that the will of the people will be respected by those in government, whether they...
Obama invited Trump to the White House, had a beautiful transition of power. Hillary conceded. Then later in an interview, did she say, I think Trump knows he's not a legitimate president? Yes. Should she have said that? No. Was that a different time when that word didn't mean, hey, let's coup, like it now means because of how Trump used it? I don't remember if my question was a yes or no question, but whatever the answer is that you were expecting me to give is what I meant to give. So, but it's totally misleading, and it is hilarious that Trump is out screaming out Russia, Russia, Russia as a way to say Epstein is in that same category of how they believe it's a hoax, which some of the allegations against Trump were wrong. Was there a lot of really concerning connections and communications between Trump officials and people in Russia? Yes. Did Russia try to help Trump? Yes. There's all these things that can be true all at once, but they were trying to categorize it as, see, this is Russia, Russia, with the Epstein stuff. And now literally Tulsi's going, yes, sir. Hey, Fox News, you remember Russia, Russia, Russia? Do you remember 2016, how we said all... This is such an attempt to go back to your greatest hits. And it does seem desperate, I have to say. Share your thoughts in the comments.